Hello, I'm Esther Gidou-Ewart. It's Tuesday, September 13th. This is Africa 54.
Paying their final respects to Queen Elizabeth II. Long lines of people file past Her Majesty's coffin at the St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh. William Ruto was inaugurated as Kenya's next president after the Supreme Court last week rejected challenges to the official results. And in our health report, Zimbabwe struggles to contain a measles outbreak that has killed nearly 700 people. Linord Moudou speaks to a World Health Organization official in Zimbabwe. All this and much more on today's Africa 54.
Begin in Scotland, where Britain's King Charles III led the coffin of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, through the streets of Edinburgh Tuesday as the country continued several days of official mourning ahead of her funeral next week. Henry Ridgwell has more from London.
Tens of thousands of people crammed into Edinburgh's Royal Mile. Flanked by soldiers from the Royal Regiment of Scotland and the Royal Company of Archers, Queen Elizabeth II's coffin was taken into the ancient heart of the city, following behind Elizabeth's 4 children. First, King Charles III in army uniform, Princess Anne, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward. Her family's grief shrouded by centuries-old tradition, witnessed and shared by the people.
It was very moving, it was very quiet. I felt very sorry for the family itself to be on show. They're very brave to do that, and I really hope and pray they can get something out of today and have a chance to mourn themselves. They were very kind to allow us to be part of their sadness.
The coffin was taken to St. Giles Cathedral for a service of thanksgiving for the Queen's life, attended by the royal family and senior politicians.
We pray for all in our nation, that we may live according to the long life, the shining example, the steadfast commitment to duty, the strong faith, and the good humour of our wise and great Queen. We thank you for the deep love she has inspired from all her subjects.
In a poignant moment, the Queen's 4 children then briefly stood vigil by her coffin. Her body will be flown to London Tuesday and will lie in state in London's 11th century Westminster Hall. Inside that same ancient building Monday, King Charles III addressed both Houses of Parliament after receiving official condolences.
While very young, Her late Majesty pledged herself to serve her country and her people, and to maintain the precious principles of constitutional government which lie at the heart of our nation. This vow she kept with unsurpassed devotion. She set an example of selfless duty, which, with God's help and your counsels, I am resolved faithfully to follow.
The royal family is well used to grieving in the public eye. Queen Elizabeth's death has triggered an extraordinary outpouring of public sympathy and emotion. Hundreds of thousands of people are expected to try to visit the Queen's coffin as she lies in state. Authorities have warned visitors to expect lines up to 11 hours long, with severe travel disruptions expected in the capital. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.
And throughout the day Tuesday, long lines of people walked inside St. Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh to say their farewells to Queen Elizabeth II, whose coffin was at rest inside. With more on today's activities, standing by live in Edinburgh is Associated Press correspondent Philip Crowther. Good evening, Philip.
Good evening.
Give us an update on what you've witnessed so far.
Well, Queen Elizabeth II's time here in Scotland is about to come to an end in the next few minutes because the plane that is carrying her coffin is about to take off here from Edinburgh Airport. She, of course, died at the Balmoral estate here in Scotland, a place that she loved so much and where she spent a large amount of time. And it is because of her death here in Scotland that only now is the casket departing Scotland for London. This is why we saw her casket, we saw the Queen lay in rest in the Cathedral of St. Giles for 24 hours. People were able to visit the casket to pay their final respects to Queen Elizabeth II. It's been a very emotional, a very sober time as well here for people here in the Scottish capital of Edinburgh. They got to see for the first time as well King Charles III yesterday during the procession that took the casket of Queen Elizabeth II from here, the Palace of Holyrood House. This is the official residence of the royal family here in Scotland. It took that cortege up the Royal Mile here in Edinburgh with the King walking behind the casket of his mother. So people got to see him for the first time. They also got to pay their respects to Queen Elizabeth II, and now people in London will be able to do the same ahead of the state funeral that will be taking place there on Monday.
And Philip, what was the reaction of people in Belfast?
Well, King Charles III was in Belfast today. This is part of a visit of all the capitals of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Belfast included, of course. He was here in Edinburgh yesterday, and he will also be visiting Cardiff, the capital of Wales. Now, what the King receives here are the condolences from local authorities, but also from the people, because in each city he gets to greet a few people, receive some flowers, receive the condolences from the British people in person. He has the same goal in Northern Ireland, if you will, as he will in the rest of the United Kingdom. That is to somehow try and emulate his mother, if that is even possible. She, of course, was a very popular monarch here in the United Kingdom. She was the Queen for 70 years altogether. Of course, King Charles will not have that much time, but if there is one thing that the people here want from their new monarch is to be, well, similar to the Queen who came before him. That is pretty much the main request, the main wish that people have of their new king.
Philip, a lot of outpouring and love for Queen Elizabeth II. Philip, thank you very much. Associated Press correspondent Philip Crowther reporting live for us from Edinburgh. And we have more reaction on Queen Elizabeth's passing from residents of Ghana.
Yesterday, we did not hear any good news. In fact, the whole world is mourning the Queen of England, of which I would say she's the Queen of about 58 Commonwealth countries across the world. I would say she's one of the shining stars, having been the Queen for over 7 decades. That's about 70 years as a Queen. She was born just after the Second World War in 1947, and she had lived as a Queen for over 7 decades. Condolences have trooped in across the world, and each and every word of the condolence tells you that she's been a great leader and inspiration, not only to women, but to all of us. So on my own listing, I would want to express my heartfelt condolence to the family of the Queen, to the British people, to all countries of the Commonwealth and all over the world. Let's emulate a shining example. She's a leader that we can all point to and say, yes, this is a Queen worth emulating. So my condolence goes to all the Commonwealth countries and the people of the world. And last but not the least, I think she's one person who had lived to see the swearing in of about 15 prime ministers of England. The latest or the last was Madam Liz Truss, just few days before she departed. So may her soul rest in perfect peace.
A great or a big oak tree has fallen, which have affected mostly the Commonwealth membership. As a Ghanaian and a member of Commonwealth, I really felt sad, even though she lived for so many centuries. I really share my sincere condolences to the people of England. I know they will miss the Queen, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, so much, but I will still ask them that they should take heart, and all that she needs from them now is their prayers, and then begin from where she has left. I really ask all Commonwealth members to take heart that a big tree has fallen on us, and then we should look at what she has done and continue from there.
As a Commonwealth citizen, I'm sending my condolences to the family of the Queen, to the whole England. May her soul rest in perfect peace.
We also have more reaction on Queen Elizabeth's passing from Nigeria.
I am John Bray Karibon Nelson, Port Harcourt, Nigeria. The death of the revered Queen Elizabeth II of Britain and the Commonwealth is a big celebration of life well spent on earth. As a grown-up child in Nigeria in the early 60s, Queen is a great mother to all. We always sing God Save the Queen in schools. Her legacy will forever be remembered around the world. We in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, we dearly miss her. She planned and developed Port Harcourt City, popularly known Garden City, during the colonial era. May a great, charismatic, visionary brave soul rest in the bosom of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. My sympathies once again to the royal family of England and the Great Britain.
That was a Nigerian citizen speaking on the passing of Queen Elizabeth. Turning now to Kenya, where William Ruto was sworn in as Kenya's president on Tuesday after narrowly winning the August 9th election. 17 heads of state attended, including President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, President of Mozambique, Philip Nyusi, and Rwandan President Paul Kagame. Mohamed Yusuf has more on today's ceremony.
In an elaborate ceremony in central Nairobi, President William Ruto took oath of office to be Kenya's 5th president. A host of African leaders and ambassadors watched the swearing-in ceremony of Ruto as Kenya's 5th president. Ruto said he will unite the country following a divisive election where he won by a small margin against his main rival, Raila Odinga, who declined to attend the ceremony.
I have come here to witness and confirm our 5th president, William Samuel Ruto. I'm happy because he has a heart for less fortunate and the poor people in Kenya, as our economy is very bad. For now, as for a farmer, when farmers are not able to produce food, the country have a big problem.
During his campaign, he promised us several good things that are coming to better our lives, to lower the inflation, to ensure that the economy, the normal Kenyan, the low citizens can afford a simple life. Yeah, life has been so difficult, but he promised us that everything will be fine, to subsidize the fertilizers, and also to deal with the price of unga, the commonly thing called unga. It has really gone up, and he promised us that he will ensure that all those things come down.
Actually, we are suffering almost 20 years. So if he do what he promised us, he will also be given the 5 years coming, or he will lead for 20 years if he do what he promised.
As Kenya's 5th president, Ruto faces struggling economy, massive debt, and record drought that has wiped out farms, livestock, and pastures in some parts of the country. Mohammed Yusuf for VOA News, Nairobi.
William Ruto took the oath of office as Kenya's commander-in-chief for the next 5 years Tuesday. The swearing-in was administered by Judiciary Registrar Anne Amadi and overseen by Kenya's Chief Justice Martha Koome. Earlier, I spoke with Joy Mdivo, Executive Director of the East Africa Center for Law and Justice, about the challenges that await the new president, including inheriting an $83 billion in debt from stalled projects under outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Well, William Ruto, having been deputy president for the last 10 years, knows well what challenges are facing Kenya. So already issues to do with emancipation of the institutions. He has said that he's going to swear in the 6 judges who are not sworn in by President Kenyatta by tomorrow. He's going to do this. This evening, he has already signed he's going to sign an executive order delinking the police service from the office of the president. So he has already embarked on the emancipation of the institutions, because institutions, when they're strengthened, then they're able to do that which they're intended to do by law. But of course, there is the hustler dream. People are asking, when is the hustler fund coming in? When is the cost of living going down? So the expectation from the public is very high. And you could see even from his new standard, the presidential standard, one of the things that's curious is that it has a little wheelbarrow on it. I think he always wants to remind himself that he came on the promise of raising the lives from the bottom up. So that's where I expect he's going to start his next 100 days in office, I think.
Now, even with a petition at the Supreme Court seeking to nullify his win, he had already intimated that he had no time to waste. He was looking forward to forming the next government. What caliber of men and women are Kenyans likely to see included in his cabinet?
The thing about William Ruto that anybody knows him is going to tell you is that he's indefatigable. He's the kind of person who is always on the go. He starts early, he works until late, and he works non-stop. So I expect you're going to see a cabinet that is very switched on, very on point. The same energy is sort of like what we saw with the late John Pombe Magufuli, where if you're caught snoozing, you're out. There's no room for neither here nor there. And he's also a person who is keen on results. He looks for the low-hanging fruits. Let's get the things done first that can be done, and then we'll deal with the big things later. So I expect we'll see a lot of change in even how government works. Rather than big major projects that affect a few people, we'll see a lot of initiations of small projects that make quick gains for the Kenyans. So I think that's what we're going to see with the WSR administration the next few days.
You talked about his Hustler Nation mantra. He ran that campaign, of course, with that symbol of a wheelbarrow, signifying the low cadre of, majority of Kenyans who are struggling to make ends meet. What do Kenyans expect him to do first to be able to feed their families? The price of maize meal has been high. It's been unaffordable. What is next for Kenyans?
One of the things that most Kenyans are looking forward to is a direct impact on their cost of living. Now, there are things that are definitely long-term, but like you said, the cost of maize meal being up means ugali, which is the primary staple food for most Kenyans, has become out of reach for most Kenyans. So I expect where there are taxes that can be waived, where there is import duty that can be waived, in the short term to try and bridge this. Even edible cooking oil has been very, very expensive of late. Then he had a conversation about lowering the cost of fuel by removing some of the tax levies on it. Now, transport is one of those factors that increases the cost of food. So if you're able to bring down the transport cost, then that affects the price of food. So I expect that we will see initiatives that are aimed at cushioning the lowest cadre of society from the vagaries of what is actually generally an economic downturn, while we see the longer-term strategies being implemented. For example, he has talked about the price of fertilizer. Now, this is going to affect the next harvest. It's not going to help us now. So you put in some short-gap measures that he has already indicated, and then bring in a plan that will make sure by the next harvest and the harvest after, the cost of production goes down so that the food is more affordable and so that more people are able to access it with little difficulty or less difficulty anyway.
That was Joy Mdivo, Executive Director of the East Africa Center for Law and Justice. Scores of people were crushed and injured as Kenyans while trying to force their way into the stadium where William Ruto was being inaugurated as president. A medic says a fence at the Nairobi stadium fell down after people pushed it, and about 60 people were injured, though the number may rise. There were no reports of deaths. One person says he was bitten by the police while trying to get inside. Still to come, health correspondent Linord Moudou has an update on the measles outbreak in Zimbabwe. Stay with us.
Every year, world leaders gather in New York for the annual United Nations General Assembly. Count on VOA to be there, delivering news you can trust on radio, TV and the web.
Des discours présidentiels aux entretiens en tête-à-tête avec des responsables gouvernementaux de haut niveau, nous vous tiendrons informés des développements importants touchant le continent.
Líderes africanos vão abordar tópicos como alterações climáticas, o estado da economia, saúde, iniciativas juvenis e muito mais.
Usikose kufuatilia habari na vipindi maalum katika lugha 16 tofauti kuhusu kongamano la viongozi moja kwa moja kutoka makao makuu ya Umoja wa Mataifa mjini New York na Washington DC. Tutakuarifu kila tukio.
A free press is essential. VOA Africa.
In other African news, the World Health Organization says fallout from COVID-19 is hampering efforts to eliminate bacterial meningitis outbreaks in Africa. African countries are being urged to rapidly implement the plan before the start of the meningitis season in January. The UN says the number of young children in Somalia facing severe acute malnutrition has increased to over 500,000. And British officials say more than 28,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel to the UK from France this year. That's more than all of 2021. It is time now for our health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Linord Moudou with an update on the measles outbreak in Zimbabwe. Hello, Linord.
Hello, Esther. Zimbabwe is struggling to contain a measles outbreak that has killed nearly 700 people, most of them children and young people. Since April, over 6,000 people have been infected by the infectious virus that causes a rash, cough, high fever, and can be fatal for unvaccinated children. The World Health Organization has activated its emergency response strategy in Zimbabwe to deal with the latest outbreak. I spoke to Dr. Alex Ntale Gasasira, representative to Zimbabwe at the WHO, about the measles outbreak.
Measles is a viral disease. It's a disease caused by a virus that is very contagious, that easily spreads and mainly affects children that have not been vaccinated. If countries, communities are able to achieve high vaccination coverage, measles can be brought under control. It is true that Zimbabwe has communities that are reluctant to receive vaccination, to present their children for vaccination. But because these numbers were very low, and the larger proportion of children were being vaccinated, and Zimbabwe was periodically implementing high-quality measles campaigns, this kept measles out of the country for 12 years. We now have higher numbers of unvaccinated children that can propagate this illness.
You also talked about communities that refuse to vaccinate their children. Can you explain to us some of the reasons why?
So we have some communities that for religious reasons are reluctant to have their children vaccinated. Having said that, in the past, they have been successful efforts to reach out to these communities, to allay their concerns, and to get their involvement and engagement and participation in immunization activities. That regular dialogue and interaction and engagement suffered during the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, with the advent of COVID-19 disease, new vaccines, the COVID-19 vaccines, again, some of the communities, some of the population have unanswered questions. And we, as partners, are working with the authorities in Zimbabwe to reach out to these communities and re-establish that dialogue.
So what does the situation look like in terms of numbers, in case fatalities and infections rate?
I'm very happy that the government of Zimbabwe is doing everything to strengthen surveillance. Right now, as we speak, we see that about 10% of the children that have been reported to have measles have died. So that's a fairly high case fatality rate. But we are trying to validate this by doing, comprehensive outbreak investigation to ensure that all the numbers that we are counting are correct. And one of the thrusts of the Zimbabwe outbreak response is to do everything possible to reduce the high fatality rate as together with the rollout of vaccination.
What else is needed, whether it's the community themselves or our partners?
Government, together with the health partners, all the partners, including UNICEF, WHO, MSF, Gavi, the donor community, putting together the resources that are required to ensure high quality vaccination campaign. That is ensuring availability of adequate doses of vaccine, the injections and associated supplies, ensuring strong community engagement across the country, strengthening capacities at subnational, at provincial, district, and health facility level to have high quality planning, training and retraining of the health workers, ensuring that teams have the logistics to go out to reach the communities wherever they are and offer the service, and ensure that the community themselves come out and are comfortable to receive the service.
And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at Linord Moudou. Esther, back to you.
Thanks, Lino. Be sure to watch Linord Moudou's health reports every Tuesday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show this Tuesday. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. From the Africa 54 team here in Washington, thank you for watching.